Hello folks, and welcome back to Anstalt Gaming and the third episode of my Planet Coaster 2 franchise playthrough. This is my Park Viking Vendetta. Now if you've been watching the first two episodes, you'll probably notice that I've spent a bit more time terraforming. So the top of my plateau, I've just removed some of the flatness to it, added a bunch of trees just to make it look a bit more natural. And my river, I've added more foliage and some reeds and some extra rocks and stuff just to make it look a bit nicer. It's probably going to be a while before I start building anything on the top of the plateau, so I thought it'd be nice to just make it look pleasant while I'm building the rest of my park. Down at the base of the big waterfall, you can see here I've got my three little terraces. This is what I'm going to be focusing on today. I'm going to be building my swimming pools and flumes and other sort of water related things. These terraces are roughly 4 meters up each, and the plan is to have swimming pools at the bottom of the waterfall and then cascading down. So I don't know whether these plateaus are the right size yet, these little terraces. I don't know if they're correct, but it's a good enough starting point. So let's get stuck into some swimming pools. So the next thing I want to do is start getting in some flumes and stuff, because I'm going to want some extra smaller pools and diving pools and exit pools for the flumes to come out on the sides. What I quite want to do is create some flumes that go near this waterfall in some way, shape or form. I might have them tunneling through the rock. We'll see how it ends up looking. Right, first crazy little flume in. It's really hard for me to get to grips with the scale of this game. First I thought these cliffs were too big, then I put the trees in and thought they were too small. Now I've got the flume in and it's looking big again. And we'll see how things work out. Alright, it's a terrifying ride, but not particularly exciting. A lot of nausea. Okay, don't really understand why the excitement's so low, given all the numbers are high. And I don't understand why the fear is so high when the numbers are low. Where are they getting nauseous? Ah, too tight a turn at the end. That makes sense. Still a lot of fear at the end. I don't like that. Oh, it's fast, this little thing, isn't it? 44 miles an hour in a flume. Right, we can do better than that. There we go. That's looking much better. Excitement's up, fear's down, nausea's down. Okay, it's a bit more consistent on the coloration type of tube. Happy with that. Oh, and there we go. First flume is in. Right, as you can see, I've now finished building all of my various different swimming pools and all my flume rides. Got a nice little lazy river down here as well. Obviously it's all still looking very bare, but I've put in some of the bridges just to make sure I know where they're going. Some of the little ramps or stairs going up between the tiers they're in. So the next phase is to build the shops and changing rooms and that sort of thing. Get them into place. After that I can start putting in all the plazas and the proper paths, and then we'll be nearly done. The only one I'm not particularly happy with is this big old flume ride here. Just sticks out a long way and it's very plasticky, but I wanted to try out some of these big features, so we'll see what it looks like later on. Might end up replacing it or editing it down, but for now we'll leave it where it is. Right, so on with the buildings then. Right, that's a good amount of buildings in place now. 6 changing rooms. These big buildings will be for our guest services, so they can buy pool tickets. The rest of them are all going to be food and drink. I probably want to get some more toilets in there, and I think I want some drying racks. otherwise it's time to start getting some plazas in there so they can actually walk around everywhere. This is going to be the hard part, getting all the plazas in place properly. Well, hopefully it goes okay. Right, I've finished getting all the plazas in now, so it's starting to come together as a proper water park. So buildings are in, plazas are in, pools are in, flumes are in. Now what we need to do is bring it all together with the beautification process. So the main plan is to get some rows of rocks to separate each of the tiers, get some vegetation in. Then we need to add all the seats, the benches, bins, lighting, that sort of thing, and get the waterfalls in between the different tiers of pools. So let's get started. Right, there's a good amount of rocks separating the various terraces. Quite happy with that. We'll have to see how the waterfalls end up looking. At the moment they're not great. Hopefully once we get the special effects in and some lighting and stuff, that'll be okay. Next stop is some of the vegetation, I think. Splash of colour, break up some of the lines a little bit. Well, I think that's immediately looking a lot better. That's only one type of tree. So let's get some more smaller vegetation in. Around the buildings, around the base of the rocks and stuff. Right folks, after many hours, my water park is now finished, and as you can see it is open to the public. So let's walk you through some of the extra changes I've made since you last saw it. To start with, around the edge of the water park you can see all these extra trees and extra rocks, and I've added in the start of a normal river at the bottom of the waterfall section. This just sort of separates it from the rest of the park, and with the extra vegetation within the water park area it just makes it look a little bit more natural. I have added all of the pool extras, so just about every pool now has its ladders to climb in and out. We've got large amounts of sun loungers, which hardly anybody ever seems to use, but at least it looks kind of cool. We've got various diving boards at most of them. Mostly the small diving boards, but we've got some bigger ones here and there throughout the park. Lifeguards everywhere, so we've got good lifeguard coverage throughout. But it's really in the detailed work that I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. So every single one of the flumes that I've built is now colour coordinated, so we're mostly using browns and greens just to keep with this sort of overall Viking theme. You know, we didn't want any particularly bright colours or weird colours. We wanted it a more natural look for wood and leaves and stuff like that. Every single one of the flume rides now has a building structure around the staircases, as you can see here. That to me, I mean, it hides away some of the structures, as in like the metal stands and walkways and stairs and everything. They didn't really seem to fit with the natural theme, so building wood and stone houses around it just ties it all in, makes it feel a little bit more solid, in my opinion. Lots and lots of flowers, lots and lots of trees and foliage around everywhere, just to sort of soften things up. The waterfalls are now all in. So we start at the big waterfall at the back, coming down from the cliff. That now reaches the bottom where it crashes against some rocks. And then that cascades down into the next swimming pool, and into the next swimming pool, and finally down into the river at the bottom. All of the shops are now open, Now, I had to add some extras around the place once I opened it, because as you might expect, I hadn't got the ratios quite right. So we've got some extra changing rooms over on the sides. We've got some extra lavatories knocking around the place because they were complaining that there weren't enough. With the extra stuff I've added, I've tried to blend it in, set it into the walls. In particular, I've added quite a few of them to the extra structures that I added for the flume entrances. So they seem more like complete buildings rather than standalone stuff. Plenty of picnic benches knocking around the place, and tons of bins everywhere. One of the mistakes I made when I finally connected it up to the rest of the park and let the guests in is I'd forgotten the bins, and so they made a proper mess. It took quite a long time for that to get cleared up. But now I've got enough bins and everything seems to be nice and tidy. For most of my swimming pools, what I've also done is added wave machines. So in particular, I've added wave machines at the bottom of each waterfall. I didn't feel like there was enough sort of surface splashes and things like that. The pool water just looked very flat and very dull, despite all the people jumping in and people coming in with the flumes and swimming about. It just seemed very flat. So by adding the wave machines, it just added a bit more texture to the surface of the water. I think that's come out looking quite nice. Some of the other detail work I did was go around all of the flumes and look at the different support structures that were in place. A lot of them I've just left as they are, but for some of them, especially the ones that go in and out of the rocks and the cliff face and stuff, I just removed a lot of the support structures. I just think that looks a little bit better than what it did. Some of the other things I've done, the bridges, I've added proper railings to it and then added logs as kind of the support frame to it, just to make it look a bit more natural, a bit less concretey like they do originally. I've done that for each of the bridges that are in place, going from either side of the water park area. And then of course we need lighting for when it gets dark. So for this particular area I've used these, what are they called? Resort lampposts. Just fire on top of a stick basically, but I put a lot of them all the way around the edges of this area. You can sort of see them lighting up a little bit, but as it's 9 AM there's plenty of natural light at the moment, so they're not really doing a huge amount now, but when it gets dark it gives this whole area quite a nice vibe. So yeah, that is the water park area. As of now, I'm considering it complete. I may come back and do a bit more detailed work. Like the structures for the staircases and entrances to the flumes, I haven't done a huge amount of detail work on them, so they look a little bit plain in places. They could do with a bit more detail just to make them pop a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with how they've turned out. But other than that, things are looking good, the guests are enjoying it, they're getting to every single flume that exists. They often don't particularly like walking around to the edges, but they do it. So yeah, that is my water park. Hope you've enjoyed it and seen how I went through the process of building it, from just some flat little terraces up to a full-blown park and tons of pools. I think the final count is 13 separate flumes, which I'm quite pleased with. And we've got 10 separate swimming pools. I will say that the lazy river though I've put in doesn't really seem to be much of a lazy river. Not many people actually go all the way around. Although you can see a few of them sort of bobbing along and getting pushed along by the currents, but I was hoping for something a little bit more obvious than what it's doing, but it's in and people are still using it, so. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode, I'll take you through what I've done with the steamboat transport ride and the entrance to the park. I've already made a start on both of them, but I haven't finished them yet. So you'll get to see some of the building and hopefully the finished product. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.